It was December 2023 when Mauricio Pochettino, then at the helm of Chelsea, calmly warned the press that chemistry between Moisés Caicedo and Enzo Fernández would take time. Time to breathe, to grow, to truly understand each other. His words were met with skepticism. Many thought the duo was incompatible, two brilliant midfielders destined to clash rather than connect. Some even called them overrated, an expensive experiment that solves nothing for Chelsea.
But football has a way of rewriting its own stories. 2 years later, the partnership, once doubted, has become the club's heartbeat, not just controlling games, but rewriting the very idea of what a midfield can be. Enzo and Nino Moy now move in unison, like two instruments in perfect tune. And in a stunning twist, they've added a new chapter to their evolution, scoring goals.
The 2025-26 season has been a paradox for Chelsea, a team built on billions, yet finding salvation in its double pivot. Despite a summer that saw over €250 million spent on attacking firepower, names like Garnacho, João Pedro, and Liam Delap, the club's top scorers aren't forwards at all. They're midfield generals. Enzo Fernandez and Moisés Caicedo, both with 4 goals to their names, have carried Chelsea through its most turbulent months, each strike a lifeline for a side ravaged by injuries and inconsistency. While big names in attack faltered, it was the midfield that answered the call. Cole Palmer, the team's creative engine and top scorer in past seasons, was sidelined by injury, leaving a vacuum impossible to fill. João Pedro tried to adapt, drifting across unfamiliar positions, but his spark dimmed. Liam Delap's promising start was cut short by a cruel injury, and Maresca, the new man on the touchline, found himself forced into tactical improvisation. His attackers were silent, his midfielders had to roar.
Under Enzo Maresca, Chelsea's identity has transformed. The coach, known for his intricate positional play, doesn't see roles as static. His football flows, shape-shifting from a 4-3-3 to a 3-2-5 in possession. Fullbacks drift into midfield, forming triangles and overloads, giving Caicedo the freedom to anchor the team, while Enzo roams higher up, closer to goal. This tactical revolution isn't random. It's deliberate, born out of necessity.
Caicedo's role remains the foundation, the destroyer who wins back possession, breaks lines, and shields transitions. But Enzo? He's been unchained. Once a deep-line playmaker, now he's an orchestrator who finishes his own symphonies. His heat maps tell the story. No longer tethered to the center circle, he now operates in the half spaces near the box, ghosting into scoring positions. What began as an emergency adaptation has turned into Chelsea's new formula, a reminder that sometimes greatness emerges not from design, but from chaos.
By the winter of 2025, Chelsea's rebirth wasn't coming from their forwards. It was born deep in the heart of midfield, where Enzo Fernández and Moisés Caicedo were quietly redefining what it meant to control a match. And it all started with one tactical evolution: freedom.
Under Enzo Maresca's meticulous design, Enzo was no longer chained to the center circle. The Argentine had been unshackled, given permission to attack the box instead of orchestrating from afar. With Caicedo and the inverted fullback anchoring the defensive base, Enzo was released, liberated from pure containment duties. Free to drift into dangerous zones few midfielders ever dare to reach. His movement told the story. No longer spreading play across the width of the pitch, Enzo began piercing through the middle. His runs perfectly timed, his instincts sharpened. He had become what Maresca calls the broken interior, the midfielder who fractures lines and arrives like a ghost from the second wave. And when he arrived, he finished. One of his most emblematic goals came against Brighton, a powerful header, arriving late into the box, rising above defenders who never saw him coming. It wasn't just a goal, it was a statement.
That header symbolized transformation. For a midfielder to score like that means one thing: systematic arrival, intelligence, and confidence. Enzo's 100% record from the penalty spot only reinforced his growing authority as Chelsea's most reliable finisher.
Whether it was the roar of Stamford Bridge in the Premier League or the European nights under the lights, like his strike against Ajax in the Champions League, Enzo had evolved from conductor to executioner.
Maresca saw what others didn't. He realized that in a team plagued by injuries and uncertainty, the brain could also become the blade. Enzo's advanced positioning, his late runs, and his ability to appear unmarked were no accident. They were a carefully crafted design. Rivals focused their eyes on the forwards, unaware of the assassin emerging from midfield. It echoed the way Jose Mourinho once unleashed Frank Lampard's goal-scoring instincts, not by demanding more, but by placing him exactly where chaos lived.
But if Enzo was Chelsea's new dagger, Moisés Caicedo had become its balance, and increasingly its cannon. While Enzo advanced, Caicedo lingered at the edge of the storm. His defensive positioning, often stationed at the top of the box, turned him into an unlikely marksman. Against low blocks, a frequent scenario for a possession-heavy Chelsea, the Ecuadorian found himself perfectly placed to pounce on rebounds and second balls. What once seemed like coincidence became strategy.
Caicedo's heat map revealed it clearly, a growing presence around the D of the penalty area. And from there, thunder followed. 2 of his 3 Premier League goals came from outside the box, unstoppable, venomous strikes that tore through defenses. What began as tactical necessity evolved into intent. Caicedo himself admitted he wanted to score more, working tirelessly on his shooting technique, refining that brutal right foot that once belonged only to a destroyer. The result? A midfielder reborn. No longer just the guardian of transitions, Caicedo became a sniper, capable of deciding matches with a single strike. His goal against Liverpool, a missile from distance that shattered the deadlock in a 2-1 victory, captured everything he'd become: composure, power, precision. And perhaps the most remarkable part of this story isn't the goals themselves, but the transformation behind them. Moisés Caicedo, once criticized for being too defensive, now carried the badge of a complete midfielder. His shots on target had already surpassed half of last season's total, and his accuracy had skyrocketed. Even the goal that UEFA later ruled as an Ajax own goal in the Champions League couldn't erase his impact, because numbers can be revoked, but intent cannot. By the time autumn faded into winter in the 2025-26 season, something had become impossible to ignore. The rebirth of Chelsea wasn't a coincidence. It was the product of meticulous design, of 2 men who had turned doubt into dominance, Enzo Fernández and Moisés Caicedo.
Caicedo's rise as a goalscorer was no accident. It was crafted through relentless work on the training ground, fine-tuning his shooting technique, increasing his offensive awareness, and demanding more of himself with every session. It was Maresca's greatest strength, his ability to blend individual talent into a collective solution. By integrating the aggression of Caicedo and the intelligence of Enzo, he turned a tactical weakness into a masterpiece of adaptation.
And in doing so, he silenced the ghosts of the past. Their partnership had matured into one of the most complete and feared duos in the Premier League, perhaps even in all of Europe. The numbers speak their own truth. In his debut season, Enzo scored no goals. A year later, he had 7, then 8. Now, projections suggest he'll break double digits comfortably. A midfielder transformed into a finisher. Caicedo too has evolved from a single goal in his debut here to 4 this season, his best tally yet, and the campaign isn't even over. Together, they have rewritten Chelsea's playbook. One balances, the other breaks. One protects, the other punishes. The symmetry is poetic and essential.
But beneath that poetry lies risk. The system's brilliance is also its fragility. Chelsea's resurgence depends almost entirely on the endurance of its South American engine. With Cole Palmer and Liam Delap injured, the team's reliance on Enzo and Moy has deepened, dangerously so. Every kilometer they run, every international flight they take adds weight to Maresca's gamble. 149,000 kilometers last season. That's not just travel, that's exhaustion waiting to happen.
And that's the paradox Maresca faces. The same system that saved Chelsea could break it if fatigue or injury shatters the balance. Because when your midfielders are your creators, your destroyers, and your finishers all at once, you're walking a fine line between innovation and implosion. The question is not whether it works, but whether it can last.
The story of Chelsea's midfield is no longer one of waiting, it's one of witnessing. Witnessing the rise of two men who turned skepticism into spectacle. But as the camera fades and the questions linger, one remains above all. Is this the beginning of a dynasty or the spark of a brilliance too intense to last? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more tales from the world of football.